Have you ever wondered why, despite all the noise around us, despite the constant rush of thoughts and worries, we never seem to hear the voice we are searching for? The voice of the divine, the quiet whisper that guides us through the chaos? It's as though we're trapped in a world of external distractions, constantly chasing things we think will bring us peace. But no matter how much we acquire, how much we control, we remain restless. What if the silence we run from is actually the key to hearing the truth we've been longing for? In the fast-paced rhythm of life, there's no room to listen to the deeper truth of our existence. The noise of the world floods our senses, the hum of technology, the constant buzz of our thoughts, the overwhelming pull of our desires. In such a world, the idea of true silence, of stillness, seems almost unnatural, doesn't it? The mind is constantly talking, offering us endless streams of thoughts, fears, and anxieties. But what if this mind chatter, this constant mental noise, is the very barrier keeping us from hearing the voice of the divine? This is where the wisdom of Rumi, the great Sufi mystic, comes to guide us. Rumi knew this struggle well, and through his poetry and teachings, he pointed us toward a deeper understanding of silence. For him, silence wasn't just about the absence of sound. It was about the quiet space where the soul could truly listen, where the divine could be heard, and where the ego could begin to dissolve. Silence is the language of God, all else is poor translation, Rumi wrote, encapsulating the essence of his belief. The true voice of the divine cannot be captured by words or thoughts, but only by the stillness of a receptive heart. But why is silence so difficult to achieve? Why does the mind resist it so strongly? The answer lies within the very structure of the ego itself. The ego, Rumi teaches us, is not just a part of who we are. It is the part of us that is most afraid of silence. The ego feeds on noise. It thrives on constant activity and thought. It is in silence that the ego begins to lose its grip on us. The moment we begin to experience stillness, the ego fears it will disappear, and with it, the false sense of self it has created. Rumi often spoke of the ego as a veil, an illusion that separates us from the divine truth. This veil is thick and stubborn, blocking the light of God from entering our hearts. But in order to truly connect with the divine, Rumi tells us that we must break through this veil. You are not a drop in the ocean. You are the entire ocean in a drop, Rumi says. This is his invitation to us, to realize that we are not separate from God. We are not small or insignificant. We are the entirety of existence, reflected in the depth of our soul. But in order to experience this truth, we must quiet the noise of the ego so that the divine light can shine through. But how do we silence the mind, this never-ending chatter that seems to control us? Rumi offers us a radical suggestion. We don't silence the mind through force, but through surrender. It is not about fighting against our thoughts, but rather about letting go of our attachment to them. The more we struggle to control our thoughts, the stronger the ego becomes. Instead, Rumi asks us to observe our thoughts as they come and go, without judgment. This simple act of observation, of witnessing without attachment, begins to loosen the ego's grip on us. He writes, "The quieter you become, the more you are able to hear." Silence, then, is not the absence of noise. It is the presence of awareness. It is the space in which we stop resisting the flow of life and allow ourselves to be open to what is. In that silence, we are no longer bound by the stories our mind tells us. We are no longer attached to the past or the future. We are simply present, in the here and now, listening to the subtle whispers of the divine. Rumi teaches us that the divine speaks to us not in loud, dramatic voices, but in the quietest moments. Don't be satisfied with stories, how things have gone with others. Unfold your own myth, he writes. This is an invitation to move beyond the surface level of our thoughts and to dive into the deeper truth that lies within us. In silence, we can hear that truth. We can feel the presence of God not in the hustle and bustle of our minds, but in the stillness of our hearts. But the silence that Rumi speaks of is not always easy. It is not a tranquil, peaceful silence that we might imagine. No, the silence Rumi describes is often uncomfortable. It is the silence that comes when we stop running away from our fears and face the emptiness within. This emptiness, he tells us, is where God reveals himself. It is only when we stop filling the void with distractions, with constant activity, that we can begin to hear the voice of the divine. When the soul lies down in that grass, the world is too full to talk about ideas, language, even to phrase each other. No tracings of the self remain, Rumi writes. This is the state of true silence, the moment when the self dissolves, and all that remains is the presence of the divine. It is in this moment, Rumi says, that we come to truly know God, not through thought, but through experience. The experience of being fully present, fully open, and fully aware of the divine presence in all things. And so Rumi invites us to turn inward, to listen more deeply, and to embrace the silence. In this silence, we find God. In this silence, we meet our true selves. Let yourself be silently drawn by the strange pull of what you really love. It will not lead you astray. The more we silence the mind, the more we open ourselves to receive the truth, to receive the love of the divine. It is in this state of openness that we begin to hear the whispers of God, not in words, but in presence. The paradox of silence is one that has intrigued spiritual seekers for centuries. While it holds the key to unlocking deeper realms of connection with the divine, it is also the hardest state to achieve in a world filled with distractions. Silence is not merely the absence of sound, but the presence of something much deeper, something that transcends the superficial and touches the eternal. Rumi's wisdom invites us to go beyond the surface noise of good and bad, right and wrong, to a space where we can truly blend with the divine. Yet, how often do we resist silence? How often do we run from it, fearing what we might encounter within our own hearts? In our busy world, silence is often seen as a void, a space to be filled with activity, noise, or thoughts. But silence is not empty. It is full of potential. In the quiet moments, we come face to face with our true selves, and in that confrontation, we discover our connection to God. Rumi reminds us that we are constantly busy, constantly engaged in mental and physical pursuits that keep us away from the stillness we so desperately need. But it is precisely in the cessation of this busyness that we can hear the divine. When we stop seeking, we are found. Many of us fear silence because it challenges us to be still with ourselves. It is a moment when the mind can no longer hide behind distractions. The thoughts, the worries, the stories we tell ourselves, all of them fall away, leaving us with only what is. It is in that raw, vulnerable space that we meet the divine. It is there that we can hear the whispers of truth that guide us toward peace and understanding. Silence, however, is not easy to achieve. It requires us to let go of the incessant need to control or understand everything around us. We must surrender to the unknown, to the space of not knowing, where only faith and trust in the divine can carry us. This surrender is what allows us to become present to the sacredness of each moment. When we stop fighting against the flow of life and simply allow ourselves to be, we open the door to profound transformation. The resistance we feel towards silence often arises from our fear of what we might discover in the stillness. We fear facing the parts of ourselves that we have been avoiding, the pain, the confusion, the unanswered questions. But in truth, it is only by facing these aspects of ourselves that we can heal and grow. The silence does not judge us. It simply invites us to be present, to accept all that we are, without the need for validation or approval. It is in this acceptance that we find peace.